Hey everybody, so we're back on the Normandy because I almost forgot that when you do side missions, it actually will then trigger the next set of conversations that you can have with your squad mates on the Normandy. So I think we may be here on the Normandy conversing with our squad mates probably over the next couple to few videos in this playthrough, which is okay because I'm just letting you guys know I don't know what's going on, but I seem to be having some weird issues with my computer recently. I don't know what it is. It could be the recent GPU update that I had. Somebody else said they also had issues after the latest update, but I'm not entirely sure that's the reason. But it's not just in this game, but other games as well that I seem to be having some strange lag only at certain points. It doesn't happen very often. It's kind of it happens at very few moments, but it's noticeable when it does happen, and in this game it's mainly happening like when I'm out in the Mako on the surface. When I'm here on the Normandy, it appears to be just fine. And in other games like WoW, for example, most of the time I'm able to just kind of keep a steady 60 frames per second, but when I go to certain areas, it all of a sudden just drops to 30, 15 frames per second. The thing is, this was not happening to me last week, so I don't really know what's going on. So because of this, there may be a delay at some point during this playthrough in terms of progression, because I may be holding off on recording more for the playthrough until I get this fixed or resolved. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm trying to run this by a few other people to see what I can figure out to do here. Possibly look to invest in getting a few more extra parts, or try and figure out what exactly the problem is when it comes to things like video RAM or memory. Possibly get a couple more RAM sticks to upgrade it, even whether or not that could be the issue or not, I don't know. I'm just letting you guys know that behind the scenes, I'm having some technical issues, and I'm not entirely sure what it is or how to fix it, so it could cause a delay in terms of content on this channel, including this playthrough. Just letting you guys know, heads up. So anyways, in the meantime, I did a few side missions on planets. I also did a few on the Citadel. I got Jenna out of Cora's Den, helping that detective. I helped out Dr. Michelle find out about Baines. I scanned all the keepers, helped out Jalid and Chorban. We found the guy in Flux who was trying to use a scanner to cheat. We gave it to the guy in the who owns Flux. I always do that. And we also dealt with that Hanar as well. And then we just did the thing with Halliot trying to nuke us with a nuke on that planet. And what's funny is that originally he was a human, but he was supposed to be a Turian. So for this, they actually made him a Turian. I was pleasantly surprised. So I took care of that. Like I said, while I was on the planet is where I was having lag issues. But when I get back here to the Normandy, it seems to be fine. So anyways, I believe Caden wants to further talk with us. You'll also notice that when I start to walk, it kind of starts to lag there a bit. I don't know. It's like when things are still, it's fine. When you all of a sudden then start to move, it's like, woo. I don't know. I don't know what's the issue.
Do you have some time to talk now, Commander?
Yeah, so he clearly wants to have a bit of follow-up.
Of course. Have a seat.
We've played it pretty close to the book so far, but we're a long way from backup. We've got some tough calls to make. I'm just saying, try to leave yourself a way out. I've seen what cutting corners can do, and I'd hate to have that happen to you, Shepard. Commander.
That's not the appropriate way to address your commanding officer, Lieutenant.
Sorry, ma'am. Maybe I got a bad signal. And if you're maybe there's someone else you'd rather confide in. Ma'am.
This is kind of cute. You can see he's alluding to Liara joining and is a little tad bit jealous. By the way, I do have something to follow up. I've been thinking about this. it's kind of a follow-up to what I said at the end of the previous part in regards to the conversation with Ashley. I was planning on keeping Caden alive by the end of this game and, having him survive Vermeer. The thing is, though, I'm reconsidering. I know I showed, Ashley on camera last time, but honestly, here's the thing. I'm not the only one that has felt this way. Even if people really don't like Ashley, they have a tendency to also keep Ashley alive in Vermeer, partly because a lot of people don't necessarily find Caden's character all that interesting. The term boring has been tossed around a lot when it comes to Caden's character. I'm not exactly sure if I agree with that or not. Because I do like him, but I don't know if I would say, oh, he's a boring character, But I've just, on the other hand, I do think Ashley is an interesting character, and I do like her arc. I don't think Caden really has an arc going forward. If my memory recalls correctly, nothing really significant really happens compared to what happens with Ashley. Because some stuff does happen with Ashley going forward, including in 3. Whereas I can't even remember what really happens with Caden. Maybe it wasn't really. I did have a run with him alive, and I just cannot for the life of me remember anything interesting that actually happens involving Caden in the 3rd game compared to Ashley. Plus, let's just say there's also a bit of me. I have a tendency to want to do things to kind of, not necessarily spite, but kind of go against the screeching chorus. I have that kind of tendency that when I hear a lot of people hate this thing, but I don't, I want to then follow up on, going against what they say or think, just to kind of help reiterate my own point, and whether, showing why I do like it. So it makes me want to reconsider keeping Ashley alive over Caden. Even, and in terms of the in-character thing, here's how I would play it out in that regard. We could see some of the flirting here and set up a romance between Shepard and Caden, where they, of course, would follow up on it after Vermeer before they head to Ilos. However, it is possible to, say, commit to a relationship with Caden, and then you can still leave him on Vermeer. And the way this can play out, role-playing-wise, is that you perhaps left him take care of the nuke, and you went to go save Ashley, who was with Kirahi and his squad, and you entrust Caden to be able to defend the nuke to go off to his dying breath, and you want to get both Ash and Kirahi and his men out of there alive. And so even if she is in a relationship with Caden and cares about him, she can still leave him behind in that regard. Plus, my FemShep has a tendency to have a kind of a sisterly bond with Ash. But then again, she also develops that kind of sisterly bond with basically all the female squad mates, here. Like, she ends up viewing, Tally, Liara, Ashley, all as, she cares for them like they are her own sisters. And, that's kind of like the bond that she grows and develops with them. At least that's when I like to kind of do my own little version of role-playing here, so it's something I'm very much considering. I'm letting you guys know. I was fully planning on saving Caden and showing him a spotlight in this run, but now I'm actually reconsidering just keeping Ashley alive anyway. Because, hey, it also works out in the regard that she perhaps, is hurt that she had to leave Caden behind to die, even though she cared for him, and she wasn't sure if she'd be able to start feeling that way about anyone again. And then she starts to have those wounds heal and develop feelings for Garrus and kind of carries it forward in 3. Kind of a nice little role-playing thing I'd like to kind of create in that regard. So I feel like I'm just kind of like, oh man, I'm gonna leave Caden to die again, because the majority of the time I've played these games, I've left Caden to die and I've saved Ashley. And there are times I feel bad about that, because I do want to give him some love, but at the same time, I just like Ashley more, you know? And I'm not gonna apologize for that. I said my piece at the end of the last part in regards to Ashley's character. Okay? If you want to chime in and disagree with me, that's fine. You're not gonna change my mind though. You know? So anyway, let's go ahead and continue here, shall we?
All right, Alenko. Off the record, permission to speak candidly, cross my heart and hope to die. What are you talking about?
Dr. Tassoni, ma'am. There's a lower deck rumor that she's, interested in you as more than a source of Prothean data. She's a very interesting lady. To my, tastes, but, I never claimed to be big on alien culture.
I love how Shepard started off that by going, okay, fine, look, permission to speak, blah, 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 like listing all the things to say, just say what you want to say. That's one of those reasons I love Jennifer Hale's voice acting. She can get really into it sometimes. It's really great.
You seem awfully worried about my personal affairs.
It's just that we don't have much downtime these days. I like being around you, but I don't want to take up your personal time.
Look, there's nothing between Liara and me. What's the real issue here, Caden?
You're right. Sorry, it wasn't, Liara's not my main concern. I'm not questioning any decision you've made, Shepard. Let me be clear about that. It's just my experience that once someone lets something slide, it tends to pick up speed. Do you get my meaning?
Talk to me, Caden. You got a little black rain cloud sitting over your head.
I'll try to keep the deck dry. You know the records about the biotic training out on Jump Zero? They're all classified, because the Alliance made mistakes. After first contact, Kinetics was set up to track Element Zero exposures and develop implants for humans. Once we had an embassy on the Citadel, Kinetics could bring in experts instead of taking it slow.
The only experts would have to be aliens.
Dead on. Turians, actually. That's why Kinetics kept it a secret. They were afraid of what people back home would think, asking the Turians for help when we just fought a war with them.
The Asari would have been more acceptable than the Turians.
Yes, but the company didn't go through the Citadel. It would have made Earth look weak, so they discreetly hired some Turian mercenaries.
This is yet another example I'd like to point out about how there are, you know, even Caden was like, I'm not really into alien culture, you know, which is his way of saying he's not into, you know, sexually interested in aliens. So he's like, look, I mean, Liara's a nice, sweet girl, but I'm not really into alien girls. Does that mean he's a racist? You know, I'm just saying. There's so, you know, people think Ashley's the only one. They act as if she is the only one in this setting that actually says these kind of things, when I can show numerous examples of people constantly bringing this stuff up, much more so than her.
Is there some reason we couldn't learn it on our own?
They didn't know where to start. Hell, it took a couple of years to even link biotics and Ezo. Forget trying to get the kids to move stuff. They had trouble just helping them not break their own limbs. And their choice of teachers didn't help much.
I'm sure Kinetics did what they thought was best.
It wasn't best for us. They brought in an ex-military Turian named Commander Vernus. To introduce himself, he liked to say, I was at the helm of the dreadnought that killed your father. Well, I told him my dad wasn't in the war. He'd retired to Vancouver. My family had an inland home that matured to new beachfront. Vernus had it in for me after that. He cut corners, pushed hard. I mean, you either came out a Superman or a wreck. A lot of kids snapped. A few died. The point of all of this, I guess, is that when you cut corners, it's not always obvious who pays for it.
So why are you telling me this? Is there something I can do to help you get over it?
I'm 32, Shepard. You don't serve as long as I have without coming to terms with yourself.
Hey, I'm 32 as well.
Also learn that if someone is special to you, you help them. Try to keep them from making mistakes.
Special, huh?
If I'm out of line, just say the word.
You're not out of line, Caden. But there are regs.
I get you, Shepard. I don't make a habit of complicating the chain of command. Just think about what I said.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Dr. Tassoni. She seems nice enough. I mean, if you like the bookish sort.
Any intentions there, Lieutenant?
None, Commander. I prefer adventurous women.
I mean, I get he's trying to imply something else, but when you think about it, Liara is quite adventurous herself. I mean, she's an archaeologist, for goodness sakes. I mean, she's kind of in the same field of work as Indiana Jones when you think about it, and that's not adventurous? Just saying.
Just trying to get a sense of where the crew's at. Thoughts?
I've wasted enough of your time for now, Commander. We'll have time for personal debriefings later.
We'll talk later, Caden.
I'd like that.
So just how, if you were male Shep and romance Ashley, and she says, Skipper, like, looking forward to it, Skipper. That's Caden's way of implying that he's kind of on the way towards having a romance with you.
I get the feeling you want to ask me something, Commander.
Maybe we could pick up where we left off. You were telling me about your interest in the Protheans.
Actually, I think I was talking about my interest in you, and making a fool of myself in the process. As I said, I am not used to dealing with people, especially humans. I did not really know much about your species when we first met, Shepard. I found it hard to take humanity seriously. Your kind always seemed so rushed and high-strung.
By the way, for those of you who might be asking or wondering, why aren't you gonna do, romance Liara with your FemShep? Because I already showed the Liara romance on my male Shep. There's not much point in me showing it to you guys twice, I mean, for goodness sakes, if I would be wanting to show other romances, like the Tally romance, for example. But we're gonna be mainly focused on Garrus, because that's my favorite romance for FemShep.
We don't have the luxury of time, and Asari can live for 1,000 years. We're lucky if we hit 150.
That is true. At first I thought that was a weakness of your species. After spending time with you and your crew, however, I think it may actually be an advantage. You humans are creatures of action. You pursue your goals with an almost indomitable determination. It is an admirable trait, but also an intimidating one.
You're scared of us?
Unfortunately, the rest of the galaxy sees humanity as something of a bully. You run over anyone in your path to get what you want. It is up to people like you to change their minds, Shepard.
I'm doing the best I can, Liara.
There is a reason the Council chose you to become a Spectre. They saw something special in you. The best of what humanity has to offer. I looked into your history. I know what you did during the Blitz. It was a remarkable display of courage and heroism.
You didn't need to go behind my back. I would have told you whatever you wanted to know.
I apologize, Commander. After our last conversation, I was afraid I would say something stupid again. I wanted to know more about you, to understand what made you into the woman you are. There is something compelling about you, Shepard.
Are you sure you're interested in me, or is it my visions of the Protheans?
I admit, your connection to the Protheans had something to do with my initial interest, but it has grown beyond that. You intrigue me, Shepard, but I was not sure if it was appropriate to act on my feelings. I thought there might already be a relationship between you and Lieutenant Alenko.
I find it funny there's a response here that says, you're female,
I care about Caden. A lot.
I thought so. Still, I feel as if there is also some attraction between us, Shepard.
I'm not interested in you in that way, Liara.
This is very embarrassing for me, Commander. Please, let's talk about something else.
I should go.
Goodbye, Commander.
And that essentially ends a possible romance with Liara. But yeah, if I had said, I'm interested in you too, that would have basically set up the moment where, after the next main mission, they both show up and confront me, and they're like, okay, no more playing both of us. You gotta choose. You gotta make a choice. You can't have both of us. You gotta choose one or the other. And of course, I do find it amusing and hilarious that there is, of course, an option for you to ask, can't I have both of you? And they're like, nope.
What do you want, Shepard?
Why did you become a mercenary?
Lots of reasons.
Such as?
Such as, I needed to get out of our system. I needed to eat. I needed to survive.
Why not stay and help your people?
I tried to help. That's why I had to leave.
What happened?
I was betrayed. I was head of a small tribe. We were trying to restore order after the war, but the other tribes were against us. They followed Jared, one of the few warlords who survived the war with the Turians. But he was old, and so were his ideas. He wanted to continue the war. He wanted us to fight. Turians, Solarians, each other. It didn't matter who, as long as we were fighting.
What did you want?
I just wanted Jared to shut up, to stop his ranting. I wanted him to stop leading the tribes astray. But he couldn't understand how much things had changed. We didn't have the numbers to go to war. Even if we did, the genophage made sure we couldn't replenish our numbers fast enough. I told them all to forget about war. We needed to focus on breeding, at least for one generation. And for a while, we were getting through. Some of the tribes started coming around.
I take it the warlord didn't appreciate that.
No, he didn't. He arranged a crush with the tribes, a meeting on neutral ground. He wanted to talk. We met at the Hollows, near the graves of our ancestors. The skulls of our dead laid bare to remind us where we come from and where we all go. It's as sacred as any Krogan place can be. Violence is forbidden.
Sounds like a trap to me. You must have suspected as much.
I did. But when your father invites you to a crush, well, there are some laws that even we hold sacred.
Jared was your father?
He was. Until that day. We talked, but we didn't get anywhere. When it was clear that I wouldn't join him, he gave the signal. His men leapt from the graves of our ancestors like Krogan undead. The few that were loyal to me died quickly. I escaped with my life, but not before I sank my dagger deep into my father's chest. That is why I left, and that's why I'll never go back.
You must have family other than your father. Don't you miss them?
You trying to make me cry, Shepard? I've got some unfinished business with my family, but that's all.
What kind of business?
Before I left, I made an oath to my father's father. I swore to recover my family's battle armor. It was taken from him after the uprising.
So this is actually a side quest for Rex. It's not quite a loyalty mission like we would get in Mass Effect 2, but you could probably say this is probably the groundwork that they were kind of doing here, because we do get at least 3. We get one here for Rex, which is this one here. We get another one from Garrus when he mentions Dr. Salion, and the other one for Tali, which is getting the Geth data.
What's so important about this armor?
It's a relic. Useless, really. But it was worn by 5 generations of my family before the war. It's rightfully mine. Originally, it was taken by the Turian military. We weren't allowed armor or weapons after the war. Now, it's in the hands of Taun Actus, a Turian scum who collects relics from the war. He's made millions selling Krogan artifacts that were stolen from my people. He's got several bases where he stores his goods, all fortified and guarded. I just don't know which base has my family's armor.
By the way, this is something that actually helps when you have your confrontation with him on Vermeer. This will actually help convince him to stand down, because he'll be like, you've done more for me than my family did, referencing us helping him get this armor.
Just tell me where to start looking.
I'll upload the data to your nav system. But Commander, I want to be there when you find him.
So long, Rex.
Shepard.
Commander?
What's your opinion of the last mission?
Not sure I buy.
Oh, wait, I already asked her about this. Never mind, never
Too bad those
mind.
ruins got destroyed. I mean, they lasted.
Do you have a few minutes to talk? One-on-one?
Sure. I was just watching some mail from home.
Oh, before I go, we saw Caden in a news vid about the Normandy. He's cute. Later, sis.
Let's pretend this never happened.
Yeah, so if you are not playing FemShep, because as you guys probably recall, if you have been around that long on my channel, it was one of the first playthroughs I did on this channel years ago. If you are playing FemShep, Ashley's sister will say that she saw Shepard and thought he was cute. And of course, Ashley is incredibly embarrassed. Whereas here, she mentions Caden instead.
Are you interested in the Lieutenant, Chief?
No, ma'am. And anyway, Scuttlebutt says he's already sweet on someone. What's up? You didn't come by to eavesdrop on family mail.
Your family seems to be important to you.
Yeah, we've always been close. Me and my sisters especially. With Dad on duty so much, I had to help Mom raise them.
You have more than one sister? Sounds like a big family.
Yeah, I'm the oldest, then Abby, then Lynn. Sarah's the youngest. She's still in high school. With 4 girls, Dad used to say he felt more outnumbered at home than on maneuvers.
What about your mother? You haven't mentioned her.
You must know what military wives are like. Strong because they have to be, able to raise kids while Dad's away on a 6-month cruise. She has a degree in planetary geology. She and Dad both wanted to see new worlds. She gave up her career to raise us, though.
Did your father serve with the fleet?
Yeah, took any crap posting he could get that offered space time. You know what? He worked his ass off trying to get recognized, but he never made it above serviceman 3rd class. He was real proud when I made Chief. First thing he did was salute.
Where did you grow up?
All over. Same as you, I expect. We transferred a half a dozen times before I finished grade school. You go where personnel command sends you, right? I guess that's why I'm so tight with my sisters. We'd have to leave all our friends every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so personal experience, I'm gonna let you guys know something. I imagine it's a little easier to have that kind of lifestyle when you have siblings to kind of, rely on. As I mentioned before, we may not have been in the military, but we did have a lifestyle throughout my life and childhood where we were moving around a lot. And I'm an only child. So I didn't have siblings to kind of rely on and such, especially when you are the new kid at a new school, every couple of years or so. So I can understand what Ash is saying. There are times I wish I had a brother or so to kind of be there for me.
I was an only child, but I get the idea. At least one of my parents was always on duty.
And Shepard was an only child.
Military families, eh? With schedules like that, it's a wonder we ever have kids anymore. Things were tense between Sarah and me for a while. Then we bonded.
Sounds like a story. Feel like sharing?
Sarah got herself a boyfriend who wanted to go faster than she did, Mike. I didn't think he was a bad kid, just pushy. Lynn would send me these worried vid mails, and I'd tell her to relax.
Where were you when this was going on?
I was on active duty. Sarah's graduating high school this year. This was only a couple of years back. They were on Amaterasu. At the time, I was assigned to Chernobog. Same cluster, but a dozen Hellwire away. Close enough to talk regularly, too far to make it back in an emergency. I couldn't afford a fast packet flight.
If he really liked her, he wouldn't be pushy.
Yeah, of course. If he didn't ask at all, I'd wonder if he thought Sarah was ugly. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Sadly, yes.
Mike thought they'd go for a romantic walk in the woods, because he figured it was past time they did the deed. She levered Mike face first into a tree and left. Didn't have a scratch on her. Good thing Mom and Dad had us all learn some kind of self-defense. I took emergency leave and walked Sarah to school for a few days.
As a guy, can I just say, guys, do not be pushy like that. It really does not help at all. 1, you're not doing yourself any favors. 2, you're making yourself look awful. 3, you're also making other guys look awful as well, because then you paint this visual that a whole bunch of other guys are like that as well, and it portrays that to other girls, that other guys must be just as pushy as this guy. Don't do that.
You said all of your sisters learned self-defense?
Lynn did pistol practice, but didn't like it. She's kind of nervous. Sarah took Aikido. Abby decided to learn the sword. She always was a little weird. Likes big skirts and tops you have to tie her into. They do great things to her figure, though.
So, what did you learn?
One of Dad's friends taught me Marine hand-to-hand.
You said all of your sisters learned self-defense?
Lynn did
Whoops.
They do great things to her figure, though.
You traveled all the way home to walk your sister to school.
It was only a dozen light years, like a day's cruise. It's not like I was going to Earth or something. My last day out, Mike was waiting for us. Sarah had told her friends, so everyone at school knew what he did. He wasn't happy. I wanted to snap him in half, but Sarah gave me this look, this let me handle it, I need to do this alone look. She kept her cool, God bless her, as he screamed in her face. She just let him vent. Then he tried to punch her. I swear, she just flowed around him. Next thing I knew, he's face down on the sidewalk, and there's blood everywhere.
Okay. Once he decided to resort to actually punching a woman, you deserve what you get coming to you. He absolutely deserved that at that point, resorting to actually trying to punch her.
That's unbelievable. Sarah must be as good as you.
Better. I'm more or less a straight-up puncher. When he swung, she wasn't there anymore, and he fell. She helped him stop the bleeding and had me call an ambulance. She told the paramedics he fell. Before they took him to the hospital, Mike touched Sarah's arm. I thought he was gonna end up on the ground again. But he hung his head, whispered, "I'm sorry," and started crying. And she hugged him. The Williams women are a decisive bunch, Commander. We do things when we're ready. Not before, not after.
It's kind of a funny tone that she says that part there, especially if you are playing a male shepherd and you are trying to romance Ashley.
Your sister's something else. But you didn't mention your father at all. Was he on deployment?
Dad always wanted to serve in space, but he wanted us to have real ground under our feet. He'd say, space is beautiful, but you can't raise a family there. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone. For always roaming with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments.
I guess I should also chime in that this also shows a few more elements about Ashley's character that I do like. The dynamic with her family, that she's very much a family person with her dad and her sisters. She's a poet, which I find adorable and sweet. And there's one more. It's actually about to come up real quick here.
I didn't know you liked classical literature.
Ulysses was my dad's favorite poem. Every time he shipped out, he recorded me reading it. He had a dozen versions when he retired.
Does he still like it?
I sure hope so. I read it to his grave every time I go home. Dad passed on a few years back. He's probably still watching, though.
You mean from wherever we go after death?
Dead on, Skipper. He's with God now. That's not a problem with you, is it? That I believe in God?
This is the other thing. And I've always wondered if this is yet another secret element that will cause Ashley to be a very polarizing character amongst people. You know, this particular aspect of her character. I've never seen anyone vocalize it, but it's always been something in the back of my mind that I have secretly wondered about, if this is yet another reason why some people just don't like Ashley because of this. However...
You know that old saw, there's never an atheist in a foxhole? Well, I've been in a lot of foxholes.
Yeah, I guess you have. I've met a few people who were really weirded out by my faith. Because I work in space, I can't believe in a higher power? Jeez. Hello, have you people looked out the window? How can you look at this galaxy and not believe in something? I should get back to my duties. Didn't mean to take up so much of your time.
I will say that is one thing that probably some people didn't like, was that for a moment there, she almost seemed to get a bit of, as if she got on a soapbox or something. That last little bit there, which I understand why that can rub people the wrong way. I'm not exactly in favor of the people on the street and sidewalk doing that, because that's not really that effective or helpful, but that's a whole separate discussion which we are not going to have here.
Dismissed, Chief.
Ma'am.
Alright, let's see if this is the conversation where Garrus gives us the side quest involving the horrible doctor that he encountered.
Commander, good to see you.
You've been with C-Sec a while. Have you seen much action?
Well, not as much as you, but yeah, I've seen some interesting things.
I bet you have. Anything in particular that stands out?
I remember this Solarian geneticist I was sent to investigate. That case was a bit disturbing.
What happened? Why were you investigating him?
I was tasked with tracking black market trade on the Citadel. Most of it harmless, nothing I needed to pursue. But during the course of my investigation, I noticed an increase in the trade of body parts, organs mostly. We usually get a few of those, but not the numbers I was seeing. We weren't sure if there was a new black market lab or if some freak was harvesting organs from citizens.
You've seen this before on the Citadel?
Every so often, some lab sells unwanted parts through the black market, but they're not as bad as the psychos. I remember this one L-Corps diplomat we caught in my first year on the job. He was hacking people up and selling their organs. Had the station in a bit of a panic. But this case wasn't that clear-cut. Turns out there was more going on than we first realized.
So how did you figure out what was happening?
First, we got a hold of a sample and ran DNA tests. The weird thing was, the match led us to a Turian who was still alive and was very convinced he'd never lost his liver. After a bit of digging, I discovered this Turian worked briefly for Dr. Salion, the geneticist. So I went to his lab hoping to find evidence of cloned organ development, but there was nothing. No Solarian hearts, no Turian livers, not one Krogan testicle.
You're kidding, right? Why would anyone want Krogan testicles?
Some Krogan believe that testicle transplants can increase their virility, counteract the effects of the genophage. It doesn't work, but that doesn't stop them from buying. They'll pay up to 10,000 credits each. That's 40,000 for a full set. Somebody's making a killing out there.
Yes. I want Rex from the other side of the room to be like, if what you're thinking is true.
What'd you do about the geneticist?
I brought in some of his employees for interrogation to see if I could get them to talk. While I was interviewing one of them, I came across something suspicious.
You mean threatening? Was that really necessary?
Maybe, maybe not. Either way, it paid off. One of my detainees started bleeding profusely during the interview. We offered to patch him up, and he got frantic, freaked out. I ordered a full exam to find out what was going on. Our medics found incisions all over his body, some of them fresh. That was our big break. These people weren't just Dr. Salion's employees. They were test tubes. Walking, living test tubes.
He was growing parts inside these people?
Exactly. He cloned their organs right inside their own bodies. Then he harvested them and sold them off. Most of the victims were poor. He'd pay them each a small percentage of the sales, but only if the organs were good. Sometimes an organ wouldn't grow properly, so he'd just leave it in them. Most of them were a mess, but only on the inside, hidden so nobody could see it.
I hope he got what he deserved.
That's the worst part. We never caught him.
Why not? What the hell happened?
He ran, blew his lab, grabbed some of his employees, and headed for the nearest space dock. By the time I found out, his ship was already leaving. He threatened to kill his hostages if we tried to stop him.
But you went after him anyway, right?
I ordered Citadel Defense to shoot him down, but C-Sec headquarters countermanded my order. They were worried about the hostages, worried about civilian casualties if the ship was destroyed so close to the Citadel. I told them those hostages were dead anyway. They just used them to make more organs. But they wouldn't listen.
It's not worth the risk. You pursue the vessel and disable it. That's the best choice.
They sent the military after him, but he got away just the same. Yes, they did. I went to Patton and told him what I thought of him and his policies. He said if I didn't like it, I could quit. Well, I almost did. All they had to do was disable that ship, stop him from running. Maybe the hostages die, maybe they don't, but at least we stopped the bastard responsible for it all.
If you don't care about the fate of those hostages, then you're no better than he is. You're just a terrorist with a badge.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It doesn't make it any easier, but I see your point. Just wish I could have stopped him. That's all.
Do you have any idea what happened to Dr. Salian?
I sent out feelers from time to time, hoping to find something. I thought I'd found him a while back. He changed ships and changed his name to Dr. Hart, his idea of a joke, I guess. I told the military, but they weren't convinced it was him. I got the transponder frequency for his new ship, but I just can't get anyone to check it out.
I'll check out the coordinates when I get a chance.
I was hoping you'd say that. But Commander, take me with you when you go. If it's Salion, I want to be there when you find him.
That is a really nice and satisfying side mission. So let's see if Tally is feeling better.
Shepard, I'm glad you're here.
You definitely sound better.
Good to see you smiling again, so to speak.
I'm sleeping much better now. I guess I'm getting used to how quiet your ship is. I still think a lot about my pilgrimage, though. I know Saren's our top priority, but with all the worlds we go to, I was hoping to find something to bring back to the flotilla.
We've still got a long way to go. You'll find something to take back.
Yes, but it cannot just be some derelict ship my people can use for salvage. It has to be more than that. There's a lot expected of me.
What's so special about you?
It's my father. He's the senior member of the Admiralty Board. He's one of only 5 people who can overrule the decisions of the Conclave for the good of the migrant fleet. My father is responsible for the lives of 17 million people. Our entire race is in his hands, and I'm his only child.
That must be tough on you.
My people place a high value on family and ancestry. There's an unspoken expectation that I'll live up to my father's example. Everyone's waiting for me to do something great on my pilgrimage. Something that will forever change our lives for the better. If I don't, it's like I failed, and that reflects badly on both me and my father.
The work you're doing here is more important than anything an Aquarian's ever done before.
Yes, I know. But you have to understand Quarian culture. We're a very insular society. The events beyond the flotilla don't much matter to the average citizen. Our greatest dream is that one day, we'll return to our homeworld and drive out the Geth. But even if we stop Saren, that's not going to happen. There's still millions of Geth behind the veil. Until they're gone, our exile will continue.
What would you need to bring back to make everyone happy?
Something that would help us better understand the Geth. They've changed significantly since the exile. They've continued to evolve. We've done our best to study them, but it's not easy. They're very reclusive. Until recently, they never went beyond the borders of the Veil. And all the Geth we run into now are under Saren's control. We'd need to find Geth operating on their own, independently. But I don't want this to get in the way of our mission, Shepard. First, we stop Saren. Then I'll worry about my own problems.
What was your father like?
It wasn't easy growing up as the daughter of one of the Admiralty. Even before he joined the board, he was a prominent figure. People looked to him for leadership. He had to set an example, and he expected the same of his daughter. Plus, he was pretty strict, a military man through and through. He never allowed me to settle for anything less than excellence. As a kid, I sometimes felt like he was pushing me too hard. But now I'm old enough to appreciate what he taught me. The world doesn't owe us anything. If we want something in life, we have to earn it.
Sounds like a tough upbringing. You don't resent your father at all?
Like I said, it wasn't easy. My father's not the kind of person you bond with. And he wasn't around all that much. Too busy. People counted on him, and he took his duties seriously. Even when he was around, he always seemed a bit distant, like his mind was always somewhere else. Come to think of it, I can't ever remember seeing him smile. Not once. It's like he was always weighed down by all that responsibility. I mean, I know he cares about me, but he never really showed it, not in the usual way. I guess the best thing I can say about my father is that I respect him.
Where was your mother in all this?
Mother was around, but she always seemed to kind of blend into the background. Almost like she was overshadowed by my father. He tends to do that to people. She passed on about 5 years ago. Some airborne virus that swept through the fleet. Happens sometimes when the filters start to break down. I think my father took it pretty hard. After she was gone, he became even more focused on his work. I think that was his way of dealing with the grief.
I want to talk about something else.
Like what?
I should go.
See you later.
Alright, so... Now, it's not going to show up here, but the side quest we essentially are going to be able to get from this is going to be when we go to a certain system, and Hackett's going to tell us about Geth having a strong presence there. And we take out 4 outposts, we then go to a base, find some data, and then it will tell us to go talk to Tally before we send that data to the Alliance. But we do now have coordinates for going after Salion for Garrus, and going after these places in this cluster for the Krogan armor. So, I don't really need to show those on camera. I already have. So there's really not much of a reason to show them again. More than likely what I'm probably going to do is just do another side mission, and then we'll see if new conversations have opened up for our squad mates here on the ship. Stay tuned.